It's my job to invest in young, educated, white male psychopaths.
This is Dan Bowyer. He is the partner and founder at Supersede, an AI-focused VC. Is AI the next saviour?
Saviour of what? This synthetic intelligence feels smart, but LLMs aren't.
There's a lot of people which are saying that the boardrooms right now are not equipped to deal with the radical transformation with AI.
I think that Apple is going to textually control your life. A Siri that is unbelievably powerful. There is something happening here which is not going to end well.
Whichever way it goes, it's all leaning into a massive increase in productivity.
It is, but then at what point do we have the conversation around
why is the technology sector different to all other investment sectors like that? Because weirdly, if you went into other sectors and you just went and said, actually, we're going to build the biggest from ground zero, people would go, how about you get yourself to 10 million over the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. I don't have a good answer to that. I think there is something about, iPhone 2007, so the iPhone isn't even 20 years old. So if you put it into the context of usable internet, late 90s, possibly not. ADSL, I'd say fast internet connectivity was probably the birth of useful internet. Then mobile was what, mid 2000s. So we've only had 20 years. We haven't had that long. It's not been it's a
tiny window, isn't it?
It's in human terms, it's a tiny window of, oh my goodness, there's SaaS, there's mobile, there's the internet, there's the .com. Even the .com, it's only 26, 25 years. It's not. So that's why we've had this great big explosion in technology. And technology has always saved us from ourselves, hasn't it? And whether it's the wheel, the fire, the printing press, the fax machine, the internet, the car, whatever, technology has always saved humans from themselves and created this next wave of economic boom and going back to the industrial age. And we're on our fourth industrial revolution now with AI. So, but it's a super slim. So I think that's where all of this mega growth has come.
Right.
But maybe it's over. Maybe AI is going to produce the next iterative wave of crazy growth. Maybe there'll be something on the other side of that.
Is AI the next saviour?
Saviour of what? Yeah, it is. Yes is the short answer, but saviour of what would be my retort.
Well, when you reference the fact that technology has always been the humanity's saviour in terms of evolution, do you see that step and cycle continuing with AI?
Yes. The things that really excite me is that AI is now touching aspects of our lives that weren't easy to digitize. So if you look at all the stuff that's been done, so banking, tourism, booking.com, all of the finance stuff, everything that was in a spreadsheet, super easy to digitize, create a SaaS model, build a company, sell a company. Easy. AI is now enabling us to technologize, I'll make up some words, to create technology around industries that weren't easily digitized. So if you're looking at healthcare, the stuff that's going on from, what was it AlphaFold? What was DeepMind's protein folding?
Yeah, AlphaFold.
Was it AlphaFold?
Yep.
All of the AI now in drug discovery, that is mind-blowing. In education, in law, in manufacturing, in energy, how we distribute, make, manage energy. If we look at supply chains and all of these kind of what was done on a piece of paper or some guy's notebook at a delivery yard, all digitized. So all of these really hard to digitize things because of AI are now going to be much more easily technologified. Yes. And that I think is really exciting. And the other thing that kind of struck me a few months back is everybody in a senior position in a company now learns type on glass. And this is something that we don't really talk about, and it's kind of just assumed and how the world works. Coming back to our iPhone conversation, everybody in C-suite management or is now a mover and shaker in business, all the boomers are out or nearly out. We all learnt type on glass. We all got raised with a new way of interacting with technology, which is why AI has been so quick to be adopted in legal healthcare tech, because everyone in these management companies knows what technology can do because they were raised with it, and that's what they're using with their children. Yep. And that's why I think we've got this accelerating force of We haven't got these laggards of humans who are a bit dumb going, oh my God, there's the internet or there's mobile. It's like, no, we know all this stuff now and we can use all this stuff. And that's going to be game changing. The decision makers having learnt this stuff as children is going to be game changing.
That's interesting, because there's a lot of people which are saying that the boardrooms right now are not equipped to deal with the radical transformation that's happening in companies with tech, with AI.
I don't think that's true. I think what was the last, was it Bain who produced a report saying 99% of AI installations have failed, which is a great click ragey soundbite. So 99% of all corporate projects with AI have failed. What that doesn't take into account is that they're trying.
Yes.
These decisions went to board and in large, complex organizations, and they went, do it, go, try now. Don't wait, do it now. This isn't like a 10-year thing. We know we're going to be disrupted by this technology. We need to learn. So the fact that it's even happened, I think, is incredible. The fact that it takes 2 or 3 iterations to make those 99% failures a 60% failure rate to a 30% failure rate, good on you. This is the way that it should be done. It's not a case of, oh, we've done AI, drop the microphone, that's it, we're not touching AI again. They've tried to bring it into their operations, they've tried to build products with it, and it's happening. And it's happening behind the scenes as how companies operate, as well as the products that they're selling. So I don't agree with the premise that boards aren't, because we're seeing some big companies adopt AI extremely quickly. And I never in a month of Sundays would have thought I would say this about law companies. Law is probably the last on the list to take tech. And if you look at, what have we got? Harvey, Legora. There has been a bit of a disruption because of Claude Code in the legal sector. And there was a massive... Claude Code released these 6 ways of creating a legal framework or writing a contract or doing a legal function, and all of the ass fell out of all of the legal software companies because, oh my God, we can just install Claude Code and we can do these things ourselves as law firms. I'm not sure that will happen, but the fact that at senior management and at board level these decisions are being made very quickly, I think is only going to continue to happen. It's not that they're going to do it once and then go, oh my God, that's it, we're going to stop. They're going to continue to do this.
Yeah. They've got to ask different questions, haven't they, leaders? Because I think historically what they've done is they've looked at how technology can improve what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
And I think that the question that they need to ask is different. I have a classic example where if I went to 20 recruitment founders today of recruitment businesses and lined them up and asked them how they're looking and thinking about AI, they would talk to you about how they're looking at AI to automate what they currently do and to improve what they currently do. But I think that in that very simple scenario, I think the real question is not how do we improve what we're currently doing, it's how do I get candidates more accurately and faster to my customer.
Yes.
And those are 2 different lenses to look through. And I think that there's a different mindset there. Everyone I talk to about that particular hypothesis or lens kind of looks at it and goes, actually, I'm definitely looking at the former. And I think that if you look at the latter, the people which actually go, I'm not worried about what the existing process is. What's the ultimate way of leveraging AI to deliver the outcome? You get much more radical thinking, I think.
I think so. I think that's quite a progressive way of thinking. I'm not sure everyone thinks like that. And I think it's absolutely fine for now to just get amongst it. What can we do that can automate what we do? I think is a fine green tick start point. But the progressives will be thinking like that. And then the next layer of that is how do you then use these toolkits to create new product services, deliver in new ways, so extending your thinking. How do we manage back office more smartly? This is the hard part of this, is at what point, I'm not sure where Jevons paradox is going to live in this new paradigm. How much of these toolkits are just going to enable more business to be done, more things to be sold, more products to be generated, more customers to be had, and how much of this new paradigm is going to affect humans at the employment level, at the engagement level, and what are we just going to stop doing as employees, as team members, and just have an AI agent or some kind of AI function do it. But you're right insofar as there are smart, progressive people in organizations that are just trying to work out okay, what does this look like in 5 years? What does this look like in 10 years? How do we use these toolkits to do that, rather than just, oh, we don't need Dave and Daisy anymore. We can have Steve with 2 agents and we can get rid of. So I think there's the product, the customer facing stuff, there's the back office operations, and then there's the future facing stuff, which is how do we think about our industry, our sector, our markets, and how do we do completely new, radical, crazy new things. I think that's fair.
I can't help but think there's a massive, massive gold rush.
What are you talking AI bubble stuff?
So no, I'm not thinking about that. What I'm thinking about is that the moment that I've got my AI lawyer at a accessible cost to me, which is a SaaS platform, not a human-powered service, right? And I'm talking, a few £100 a month, whatever it might be. The likelihood of me leaving that lawyer, once it starts to really understand all my context, it's got all my documents and my data and my infrastructure. And so I can't help but think that there's a massive opportunity to be first to market. And when you think about the size of the market, how big is that AI lawyer opportunity? If someone can deliver an AI lawyer which can do everything that another law firm can do, or 90% of it via some chat digital interface at a resoundingly lower price, a super accessible price, that's going to be consumed rapidly, isn't it?
It's out there. It exists. What you're not accounting for is the regulatory, security, compliance. I'm not going to get fired for getting lawyer X to serve my documents. I will get fired if I get ChatGPT to spin up a contract which then goes wrong.
Yep.
So the law firm will have insurance, they'll be regulated. There's a I don't know what the right turn of phrase is, but there's this security, insurance, compliance layer that no LLM can give you. So what you will, I think, for the short term is, we're already doing this, is we'll create all of our contracts using Claude or ChatGPT. We'll understand the legal implications, and then we'll get a human to read through, sign off, that's correct. And that's all the lawyers are doing now, is they're using all of these clever toolkits, but their stamp of approvaling, this is now worthy of this use case, you can now use this contract in law. And I can't see an LLM doing that completely.
For how long?
There are already startups looking at becoming niche, so full stack, whether it's in my world, startup and investing, or whether it's in healthcare or in specific verticals where they're looking to become the legal service. And this is, we've already discounted a whole bunch of stuff which can automatically be done. Conveyancing, for example, I'm not sure there's much intelligence in conveyancing, so why that can't be automated, I don't know. Maybe that has already and I just don't know it. That's very probable. So there are specific functions that I think have gone, that have already gone, and they will become commoditized. You'll buy them online. I want to sell my house selling, conveyancing product, negotiate, agent to agent, tick box, done. I think that's very, very possible. But what about if you're, I don't know, a divorce lawyer? And there's really complicated humans in the loop, and the LLM is never going to understand the nuance of the ex-husband and ex-wife's relationship. There's a psychological aspect to this that can't be digitized. I would argue
that's an amazing point, isn't it? Yeah. Do you think that the relationship that we will have with our agents and our LLMs will get to a point where we will trust it to negotiate that divorce?
Absolutely.
Better than
absolutely. I think we will absolutely. Whether it can actually be functioned like that? ?
Yes.
Will we trust? I had this exact conversation about doctors, healthcare provision, and medical procedures and medical provision with a very well-known, incredible entrepreneur, we're not friends, but a contact of mine. Yep. And we were having the same debate, this kind of Jevons paradoxy. Are we going to see more healthcare providers, more healthcare humans because of AI, or fewer. And my point was we're going to see fewer because I would much rather trust an AI agent, LLM, AI in general, to come up with a health diagnosis of a health challenge that I have than a human. Without a shadow of a doubt, I do not want to speak to a human about my health. I would much rather trust an LLM that has every single medical document, procedure, surgery in the world, not just in the UK, but in the world, captured into some kind of back office inference engine to then be able to query that with all of the health data that I can put into it. You go to the health service now, my wife's going through health treatment at the moment for an iron deficiency. The amount of time she's had to re-explain all of her results, where the doctor, the GP or the practitioner hasn't even read the notes. Because I guess they're under pressure, whatever. I'm not making an excuse for anyone, but I think that's just shitty. Yeah. So I would much rather trust an AI agent to do that on my behalf. And I think it'll be the same for many, many functions where this thing knows me and everything around this problem in the world and can help create the right solution to that challenge.
I can't help think that writing up a contract's a fuckload easier than medical records and medical advice. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty binary.
It is, but you can't remove the human in the loop. I mean, OpenClaw, there's a famous case of a car contract being negotiated using OpenClaw. Yeah. So the agent, OpenClaw, was sanctioned with the job of go and find me the best deal on a Nissan Juke or whatever it was, and it went off and it negotiated with all of these dealers, allegedly got $4,000 off a deal. Don't know how true it is. Seemed true, seemed like a genuine guy, but that I think is absolutely eminently doable. But when you're in divorce, or whether you're negotiating for buying a property or something, where there's a complexity, there's a human nuance involved.
So the negotiation, I think you're right, there's an element of that, because at the end of the day, the decision making, although it will be informed by intelligence, might well sit. But when it comes to the drafting of all of this,
you're right.
Of all your drafting and
the mechanics will go, the commodities will go, the hygiene will just be catered for. And a lot of lawyers made a lot of money from hygiene and drafting and researching and going through precedent and getting 55 interns to go and sit in a basement and tag documents. All gone.
But that's the majority of it, isn't it? Like, if you even think about the deals that you do, there's a platform called Seedfast, isn't there? Do you know Seedfast? Yeah, Seedlegals.
Yeah, I think Seedfast is their
that's right, Seedlegal,
convertible note document. I think.
And so those guys are using templates very simply, So that's cornered.
We often have deals that sit outside of their parameters.
Absolutely. Yeah. My point would be that when you start to apply intelligence to that framework, right, and your ability to manipulate that, just like you've got all that medical context, you've got all that legal context, all that personal context of your business. I think it becomes, when you start to inject that highly relevant, intimate context of everything that's going on in your business, and then you've got this external world of a company has taken all of the templates of the legal structures and documentation, case history, package it up, create a consolidated, then we've got this compounding, improving intelligence. I just can't help but think that that's going to be just abundant. And my point is that I think it's a gold rush. I think that we will all be consuming services like that to support and run our businesses. But we're not today. We're using bits and pieces. And so I can't help
but... so early.
Yes. But that gold rush comes back to, if we think about a big law firm today, right? All of a sudden, 5 years would have been a long time for them for planning, really, really long time. Okay, they'll be thinking about maybe the next 12 or 18 months, or 2 years, really kind of generally slow moving beasts. 5 years now, that's an extinction date if they get this wrong.
The only thing in their favour is that the senior partners all operate as single entities. So the thing that is in their favour, as the way that law firms are structured, just to use that exact example, is they all operate as individual companies within a banner. So they will all be using all of these tools, whether they're the Harveys, the Lagoras, the kind of the main platform, case management stuff, or whatever it is, documentation stuff and management. They will also be using anything that they want to use to give them the edge to serve their customers better, win more business, and do higher value business. I don't believe in the short term we'll cut the human out of that loop. But you're right, 95% of it can be absolutely taken away. But that takes you back to the Jevons paradox. Does that mean that lawyer X can do 10 cases a week over one, which I think is where we'll end up, at least in the short to medium term?
Yes, but those companies which have got that kind of 5-year outlook. I think about Nike, right? So Nike, the shoes they're designing today actually hit the.
I read Shoe Dog the other day. Have you read that?
No.
Yeah, Phil Knight. It's a really great book.
Oh, Shoe Dog. Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to distract you.
No.
Everyone told me to read it, and I didn't. And then I read it about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. What a great, fascinating story.
Brilliant story, wasn't it? Yeah, really brilliant story.
And it took decades. That's the other thing, is like, you read all these things, like you think about Nike, overnight success, isn't it? He just designed a shoe company and off he went. It's like, no, that was like 50 years in the making.
And a tough slog.
Yeah.
Like some really hard.
Well, if it was easy, it'd be boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And some bold decisions. The one that I always think about is the one where he talks about the coloured trainers.
Yes.
Yeah, and just took the fines.
Yeah.
Broke the rules.
Yeah, why not?
So good. Yeah. But so coming back to it though, it's a really interesting space, isn't it? I just can't help but think that you've got all these hundreds of thousands of businesses and consumers which are currently relying on traditional services, or they're using their AI to do part of the job. And the future looks like there's going to be this new economy of more autonomous kind of capabilities.
I think you're bang on. But do you know who I think is going to win?
Tell me.
And this is an audience of one. I am on my own here. I think Apple is going to win.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I think that Apple is going to make Siri a personal agent that is privately, securely, and manageably going to know your entire context. Apple is the only ecosystem that is secure and private. And I think they've been very, very good at doing. I mean, Android and others like sell your data to their grandmother to make money.
Yeah.
And Meta and Amazon, everyone like horrific at this, but Apple have always been no. It's why they've never had good shareable services, and they've never been able to do anything that's synchronized across the web because of their security and privacy concerns. That's why they've always been bad at it. This is where they're going to win. And they've been extremely slow out of the gate because Apple Intelligence was a dog's dinner and Siri has never been useful. However, they own the entire ecosystem. They secure the entire ecosystem. Everything on your phone cannot do anything without Apple's interoperability.
You're right, yeah.
That will become their power. That will become the source of their strength. Because if you think, as soon as there is an agent on there, like an OpenClaw-ish agent, they're probably speaking about, I bet Tim's speaking to Peter Steinberger right now about this. What they will be able to do is so powerful, understand everything about you, from what's in your email, what's in your calendar, all the apps that you're using, everything in that one ecosystem, and on device be able to contextually control your life. So you can have a Siri that is unbelievably powerful. Okay, it's personal. Okay, it's not like in business, and it's not going to be a legal agent or a healthcare agent. However, it will be absolutely be able to operate on your behalf with all of those external, maybe they're B2B, maybe they're B2C, whatever it is. It'll be able to operate on your behalf with those other services. And I think we've kind of written them off because they've been a disaster zone and they've had so many personnel changes and they've never been able to get their proprietary platform to work, but they've just done a partnership with Google. They've got Gemini on device. So all of this new LLM software or SLM is going to be on device. And once they own the ecosystem with that new platform, that is going to be game changing. And if we don't see that this year, I'll be extremely surprised.
Yes. Yeah.
And that I think leans into your powerful agents that can then go off and control negotiating a car, buying a house, managing my health data, negotiating health provisions, dealing with GPs, whatever it is. We're going to get to a layer where that personal power becomes, doing stuff while I sleep. And that super excites me.
Whichever way it goes, it's all leaning into a massive increase in productivity.
It is. But then at what point do we have the conversation around, is my Optimus Prime going to be going to my factory to do my factory line job? And am I going to earn the revenue that my robot does? I don't know where. I mean, UBI doesn't really work, but there is going to be a chasmic shift in how we compensate people and how we measure productivity and efficiency and how we earn salaries. I don't know the answer to any of those things, but we're going to have to be very mindful of how we. And it's not, the other thing is everyone's saying, oh my God, we're going to lose all our jobs and, the robot's going to take it. That's not going to happen overnight. I mean, unions won't allow it. Governments won't allow it at a base, but also the technology. LLMs aren't that smart. LLMs are dumb. We think they're smart because this synthetic intelligence feels smart, but LLMs aren't that smart. And that we are not going to get AGI and SI from LLMs. It will never happen. It can't happen. They have no idea about bouncing a ball or screwing a screw into a wall. They'll know the physics of it, they'll know the function of it, they'll know the shit, but they don't know how these things all stitch together. So LLMs are idiots. However, we will at some point have to have quite grown-up conversations around how we let our agents free in the world, at what point these autonomous things take over revenue-generating functions, create productivity and efficiency gains. And I don't know how we're going to square that circle. But we have time. We have time.
Are you saying that we're overestimating AI's capability right now?
Absolutely. And it's been talked up by Sam Altman and Jensen Huang and all the other. Elon Musk has been, I'm not a massive Elon fan. I think he's just a terrible human being. And it's all being talked up and out of control so that they can go off to the Middle East and raise billions into their firms. I mean, they all know, yes, it's hyper smart. Yes, AI is going to be revolutionary, no doubts. But they know that we are probably at peak LLM. They know that we're probably at peak scaling law. We're probably on the cusps of what these technologies can do, knowing full well that LLMs can only manage whatever text, audio, image, and obviously video. They've got some very clever video creation, but it can only take the sum total of what's been done and then create a slightly cuter version of it. And it looks like it looks hyper intelligent. It feels like you're talking to another human being, but it's synthetic. It's not intelligence as I don't know how you define intelligence. Maybe that's part of the challenge, but it's not. It cannot be, and it will never be AGI SI. It just can't. It doesn't have enough real world experience. It can't do what we think it can do. But the big guys from big tech have talked up the game because they want to fill their coffers. And I get it. And I understand. I'm not diminishing the effect that it will have. It will have massive effects, but it will go, and then we're going to plateau until we get to whatever, Jan LeCun's world models or VLAs that can do this or VLMs. There'll be another layer and another layer. There'll be more AI that talks to this or works with that AI in different ways. There's only so much training data. There's only so much inference you can. It's not.
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it, right, is that the LLM is only part of the answer, right? And so it's just part of the intelligence engine, right?
That's
and
right.
So it's a bit like comparing, a lot of people are trying to compare, these models to humans, right? Where actually really it's only part of the neural, the brain.
I think that's the right way to think about it.
And the way I look at it is that, so we've got this brain, which I would suggest has intelligence that's required to have the knowledge, the domain knowledge and know-how of 80-90% of work that happens today. Okay, maybe more, probably 95%. And so what we're doing today is we're building the organs and the infrastructure and the tools that take that capability. And I believe that we're bridging the gap between the level of intelligence and its ability to execute, or to where we think of AGI. I don't think of that as AGI being a level of intelligence. I think about it more being about a kind of level of capability. And I think that the rate at which we're building the infrastructure around that neural network, that little bit of the brain, and filling the gaps, I think that that's the part that maybe is underestimated. So I agree with you where we're overestimating. I definitely see that, overestimating AI's intelligence. It has like these huge gaps, but I think maybe we're underestimating the compounded impact as we start to give it the heart, lungs, frontal cortex.
That's how you define heart, lungs, frontal
and
cortex.
yes, of course, yeah.
I
mean,
agree
it's
with you.
metaphoric as opposed to.
No, I'm with you. If you're talking about how we apply AI and the application layers, I'm with you completely.
Yes.
Where you lose me is the fact that these hearts, lungs are not other versions of AI that are going to increase its capability. They're just going to apply AI into various sectors, spaces, personal, commercial, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That is what the Chinese have been doing for the best part of a decade. And obviously with LLMs for the last maybe 2-3 years have done it in, leaps and bounds. If you go and see their dark factories, you go and see their manufacturing, it's unbelievable. They're doing stuff that we don't even consider in the Western world. But that's the application of AI into manufacturing as an example.
I look at it as capability, not application. So I look at it as voice. We've got people that are putting 100 million into 200 million just into voice agent capability. So it's indistinguishable, far more advanced than humans, right? So that's just one capability. I think if you follow the investment, if you see all of the entrepreneurial investment, you see the big players, we're building all of these components. And all those components for me are all the tools and infrastructure which enhance and bridge the gaps of capability of LLMs. Do you see what I mean?
Semantics. Maybe we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, maybe,
I don't see it that way insofar as you're not increasing the ability of the AI. You're just giving the AI a function and a form. So what I'm most intrigued by are the next layers of AI that are genuinely going to be the cerebellum, the amygdala, I can't think of any other parts of the brain, but whatever, prefrontal cortex. I'm trying to draw into my biology lessons. So that's the thing that really intrigues me. So looking at Jan LeCun's world models, that I think is a very exciting brain implant, which is giving AI the ability to understand the real world rather than LLMs understanding text, audio, video. So that I think is another piece of the brain armory. We don't know what's going to come next, or maybe world models aren't the way, but I think there are more exciting. We've still got loads to do on the application. We've still got more to do on the voice, on the law, on the health. We've got so much to do, and we're so far behind. And that's going to be a very exciting decade of what I call the application. I think you're giving it a slightly different moniker. Yep. I'm calling the application of AI. This is going to be unbelievably transformative and exciting. But this is where we've already plateaued, I think, at the foundationals. And now what we've got to do is apply it. We've got to build this into our infrastructure, our energy systems, our healthcare, our education, our NHS. The NHS is dying for these kinds of systems and these kinds of efficiencies. Yeah. So apply AI and don't really worry about, we don't need the latest, greatest foundational model from the States. We don't need to. There is a sovereign challenge over this. Like, should we have, UK AI owned and managed by UK companies with UK data? And that's an argument that we can make or break. I'm very comfortable taking Chinese open source and building layers around Chinese open source where most people would balk at the idea. Oh my God, what if there's a backdoor and Xi Jinping can steal all of my kid's data about his education? Oh God, if he really wants to, go for it. But I think that's easily solvable. And I'm quite comfortable, and I am an audience of one in my community on this. I'm quite comfortable taking the open source that's maybe 3 to 6 months behind the foundational people, like the big Anthropic releases and the big OpenAI releases, because we don't need that extra functionality. I mean, 4.5 was just as good as 4.6. I mean, we now need the application of these incredible
and that's where we're aligned. Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah, and so I absolutely talk about 2026 being the year, I think, that of application. I think it's right. When we're... I
think that's right. This is where we're going to start seeing all of these industries, not to the degree that the Daily Mail will let you believe, but I think you're right. This is where we're going to start seeing applications.
And if we... And I guess the gap which I was talking about is about just... The point you raised there around it's intelligent enough already to apply.
Well, Jeffrey hinted things that we've already surpassed sentience. So
yes, I saw that.
And part of me feels quite sorry for him, and a part of me is in awe of him. So what he's done, who he is, what he's achieved, I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, you are whatever, the godfather of AI, and that I have utmost respect for. But I think he moves into very dangerous territory when he's giving this level of technology a sentient label, or it's now a conscious label. I think that's extremely dangerous. I am nowhere near his skill set. I have not spent 30 years building these models. What the hell do I know? But I've been doing this for a long time. I've invested in this space for decades, and it feels like you're talking to a human. And so, some of the retorts that you get, like, Dan, you didn't really mean that. What you really meant was this. Oh my God, how do you know me? Are you in my room? Are you watching me? It does feel like, but it's purely synthetic. So I think that's dangerous. I know, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think, to go back to your original point, that the layer, the application layer, is, we haven't even started. We haven't even begun.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? They kind of talk about last year being year zero, really, in terms of us getting models which are intelligent enough to have breadth of capability. Yeah. And this is the first year of real application.
I think that's fair. I mean, going back to the 99% of AI installations fail, I think this year we're going to see that drop to 60, 70, and then next year we can see that drop, that failure rate to 30, 40. I really do believe we're going to start seeing. And also, you need some context around that. I'm not talking about changing core business function. I'm talking about, maybe vertical applications of AI in legal, in health, in welfare, in whatever. That's going to absolutely make some inroads this year. And I believe, on a personal level, if you give somebody the autonomy to use whatever toolkit you want, but just do it within these bounds. So you can use whatever we allow through our company structure. And there will be maybe an AI that manages the governance around it, another AI to manage the AI, so you can't do stupid shit. I think that task autonomy to manage a project, to deal with a customer service query, to deal with a thing, I think that's going to be absolutely come online this year without a shadow of a doubt.
I can't help but think it's the environment, right? So I saw an article earlier this week, I don't know if you saw it, which is where they've plugged, I think it was GPT 5.2. There's a laboratory which is being run completely by ChatGPT. It's completely robotic, scientific laboratory, and it has no human interaction whatsoever. Do you see this? Did you see this?
But this stuff is...
And they've now plugged it into, I'm pretty sure it's GPT 5.2.
Yeah.
And 5.2 now is operating the whole lab. And this is like a full-on lab,
but when you're
running the experimentations, analysing the results.
That's where it lives. I mean, look at coding.
But if we look at that, if we just take that part, right?
Yeah.
So why is it able to have such impact, I guess, and control and autonomy?
You've got to think about what science is. So science is a bunch of experiments that, when they come up with the same answer, you can scientifically prove a theorem, a conjecture, or whatever it might be. So if you think about what science is the sum total of all of the data within the very quant heavy data within that niche, that space, and then crunching various experiments to come up with a repeat answer to the same question. And that's exactly where LLMs live. Look at AlphaFold. We spoke about AlphaFold before. Look at protein folding. That's what it can do. Look at drug discovery. That's what it can do, because it absolutely thrives in a structured world like coding. Coding has been blown apart by AI. I mean, Google very famously said 50% of our code is now written by AI. Yeah. Of course, you don't want it taking over, committing, screwing your database, your code base, whatever it might be. So there is still going to be some version of human in the loop to just make sure that whatever makes sense. And I think, to a degree, but I think even that's going to go. But this is where LLMs live, in this kind of function, where it is very boxed, structured. That's what LLMs thrive on. There's no nuance. There's no human energy required. It's like, that's the data set, crunch and complete.
And how many companies would love to have that level of rigor and structure around their data?
Well, they all do. I mean, we all do that in parts, don't we? I mean, our financial data will be that. Our coding, whatever product we have, will be that. HR systems won't be that, because there's human mess.
Yes.
But they will be obviously touched by projects and elements of AI, but they won't necessarily be full stack. So I think a lot of our functions, I mean, there's only 20 odd jobs in any company anywhere in the world. There's only so many roles, right? There's only so many things that need to happen, whether you're 1,000 people or 5 people.
But I can't help but think that most companies would want to create all your data laid out in one operating system. And so when I think about the future of AI and as we move forward, it's about organizations which are able to create an environment for the agentic systems and autonomous systems to operate within, which is secure and boundaried and compliant.
I think that's right.
And that sort of stuff. And I can only see that. I draw parallels. I mean, I'm a kind of macro-ish guy, right, which gets the big dots, not the academic. I was sat here with Gaurav Suri, who I absolutely loved the conversation I had with him last week. And he was talking about the same thing as you, which is that scale has hit a bottleneck in these AI models. And
not everyone believes that, by the way.
No, and I'm unsure about that. You know, if we're led to believe, you know, the size of the investment would demonstrate the opposite of that we're about to see, you know, exponential kind of growth from it.
Yeah,
time's going to tell, that's for sure, because they're building those data centers at a rate of knots.
I think you just got to look at the output functionality of these models. At what point is it incremental? And I think we are already at they're incredibly good at writing code base. They're incredibly good at scientific discovery. They're incredibly good at other, you know, boxable functions that are very data heavy. And they're going to get better. But at what point is it good enough? I agree. I think right now they're good enough. We already have enough functionality to be able to apply AI in every single industry, and it's going to incrementally improve, and that's fabulous. And there will be some breakthroughs in particular verticals. But I think my sense is we are pretty much at that functional peak where we're getting 80% of what we need done. I think we're at Pareto already.
So do you agree with that hypothesis or not, which is AI models are overestimating their capability? So you agree with that? That was the point we made, their capability.
I think I agree with that, as in, just to qualify, they are talking a good game. The Sames, the Elons, the Darios are talking a good game to feed their own engines.
But I think you were saying earlier, just to reframe it, that the model's capability is being overestimated to where it is today.
It is, and it's limited. Yeah.
And then if we talk about its application, I feel that that's underestimated.
Do you? That's interesting. Yes. I don't think that it's underestimated. I think it's my sense is that it's feared.
Okay.
And we don't quite know. So for this stuff to be in the main news cycle as often as it is, if you think about it, it's quite unusual. Even from .com to mobile to SaaS, all of these very transformative breakthroughs for us and our industries didn't really make the main news. They might have been on Bloomberg or whatever. They didn't really make the main news cycle like AI. AI has captured the imagination like no other tech, I would argue. We've got to get out of the fluff, and we've got to kind of remove ourselves from the hype. The ability for these models to transform has only just begun, but it's limited. We've got a limited scope of what an LLM can do within law, health, whatever, finance, whatever it is. And I don't know where the lines are, but I'm very conscious that they're talking a good game to raise the dollars. And we've got this awful circular capital, not awful, that's not true, that's not fair. But there's this circular capital going on at the moment where you buy my chips, I invest in you, you buy my services, I buy that from them. And Bloomberg, you must have seen that Bloomberg chart of who's selling what, who's investing in whom, who's buying what. It's like, and that was maybe not even half of it. And that is an economy in itself. It's not quite Ponzi because it's too big to Ponzi. It's because the economy is a Ponzi scheme, really, isn't it? But it's too big to be a Ponzi scheme. But it's like, hang on, guys. So we've got to be very conscious when the circular capital stops and the debt starts piling in. So you watch all these big companies IPOing this year, starting with Elon and SpaceX and XAI. See how well that does. See how well whoever's going. I don't know who else is going to go next, but there's going to be a spate of IPOs, which is going to create a spate of M&A, which is going to create a spate of debt. So I'm very anxious about when the debt and the credit line starts piling into all these hypees, because we've got LLMs and these technologies. Sure, they need to be applied, but we don't need the the $1 trillion companies to do that bit, and we're out of whack then.
Yes.
So I'm very conscious that when people start, getting debt into these instruments and borrowing money to invest in data centers, especially data centers, fills me with the most fear. All of the infrastructure players that are mid-tier, that are borrowing shed tons of cash to go and do these things, they're going to have the rugs pulled from underneath, and that's going to possibly create the bubble collapse, because we're fine at the moment. Lots of real money, lots of real revenue being made. It's not .com, it's real revenue. We've got the circular, fine, but the circular's stopping, going into public markets. We'll see what happens with public markets, because what will happen is debt will start to pile in. People will borrow to buy into Anthropics. And that hype, creating that's going to be really problematic. But I've waffled. I've gone off your topic.
No, it's great. Where do you sit on this AI bubble then?
Well, it is a bubble.
Yep.
There is real and meaningful function underneath the bubble. It's not pets.com. It's not Webvan. It's real. So it's real stuff. It is a bubble. I'm only concerned when the debt gets exposed, and it won't take much, because Trump is creating such volatility in the world. It will only take a couple of local banks in the States to bring down the whole system. It will only take Bitcoin strategy to take a shit over there to destroy the system. It will only take a failed stable coin that isn't really a stable coin. It hasn't got the backing to crash the system. So there'll be something that won't look like much that will cascade the house of cards. And we're at that point now. So yes, bubble, not worried about it for 26. I'm extremely worried when debt starts piling in. And the worst thing that affects me and hurts me personally is that it's going to be the layperson, the mum and dad in the street that doesn't even know they're invested in OpenAI. Through their 401k, through this scheme, through that investment scheme. They don't even know, and they're going to be the ones that lose their shirt. They're going to be the ones that can't retire next year because such and such a fund lost all their money on this bullshit. So that's the stuff that I am anxious about. But this is the world we live in, and greed and fear, right? We're in greed territory.
They are banking on. I was trying to work out the maths on it, right? But I think it was the IBM CEO that came out and said that there needs to be 800 billion of profit annually created in order just to service the debt on the amount of investment that's been put into data centers. And I tried to work out what size of business you needed in order to service that. And the only commodity I could come up with, and I didn't try oil, but I did try electricity. And so electricity has got about 10 trillion annually global spend around the world. And so if you think about that, put it on a 20% profit margin of some sort, and you've got a couple of trillion, you can service, a third of that can service your debt, right? I'm talking just big, wacky numbers here, but just to give an idea of the scale of what people are banking on,
I can't compute it.
To create. So what we're really saying is, in the magnitude of this, is that they're saying that the demand for compute and our ability to commercialize it and people to pay for it is as kind of broad, deep and tall as the demand for electricity.
I don't think that's not true. Okay. I think there is, if you look at how many users does Gemini have, 750 million. ChatGPT, I think, has around 900 million users. Okay, they're not monetized. Google's are much more monetized, and obviously OpenAI is just turning on ads in ChatGPT. So they're trying to monetize because they are effectively paying users to query. They're paying users to prompt at the moment. So there is a problem in the financial stack of revenue flow. It's super problematic. There is one argument that says we've only just scratched the surface. Everybody is using AI. We've got these hundreds of millions of users that are looking to deploy AI and automate their businesses using AI. The numbers on the flip side of the coin blow my mind, because if you look at what Elon's doing with, space data centers, which don't practicably work, I did look into latency, payload, energy consumption, the physics of getting a thing up to then run as a data center to get data down and draw inference, and the whole loop doesn't work. And now he's now diverted from Mars to the moon because that's a much more achievable goal. That's not really going to work either. So there is a 1.25 trillion value. I mean, people can't get their head around. I can't get my head around what a billion is, right? So a billion. If I spent $1 million in 10 days, a billion would take me 31 years. What is a trillion? I don't even know what a trillion is on that scale. The numbers don't compute in my head.
There's an amazing analysis, by the way. I've done the same thing. So I tried to work out how long it would take to count to 1 million.
Yes.
And then to 100 million, and then to 1 billion. And so 1 million you can count to, I think, in about 3 months.
Yeah.
But if you tried to count to 1 billion, it would take you 50,000 years.
Yes. There's one calculation, which is the end of the observable universe. It's like, I can't. So we're talking about sums of capital and valuations that don't compute in the real world. The free cash flow to, I mean, what are the forward multiples at the moment? I mean, we're already out of SaaS. SaaS was probably 7 to 10 would be a comfortable. That's pretty died a little bit because SaaS is going to struggle with AI. Some of these multiples were in the 29s, 30s, 40 forward. I mean, Nvidia is probably the only safe bet and is still obviously hitting all earnings targets and will continue to do so. They are pretty much a monopoly. Not quite, but pretty much a monopoly. ASML orders off the charts. ASML can't provide kit fast enough. So we've still got a lot of reality of cash flow in the system. And then you've got the hyperscalers who are bullshitting and making everything, oh my God, LLMs are going to change the world. They're going to, become sentient and they're going to, create a world of abundance. And that's never going to happen. But I can't calculate. The numbers are so vast and so interconnected. All I can say with some authority is that the application layer is going to create massive revenue gains, possibly part of the bubble, but massive real world revenue gains advances for many companies in really meaningful ways. As far as what these guys are doing, the hyperscalers, the big AI firms, this is an intertwined world that just makes no sense. There is no reality in the numbers when you look at the valuation, the revenue. What's OpenAI doing? 80 billion or something? I mean, so you've got to create how much free cash flow just to invest in those, that 500 billion investment? You can't. You don't have the money. And SoftBank, who's investing you, they don't have the money. So I don't know. At some point that circuit is going to break. I think the circular capital has already broken, which I think is why everybody's now moving to public markets. And now, the general public with their pension funds, with their debt, are now going to pile in. It's like, this is going to be painful. This is going to be problematic. But the numbers are so chasmically vast. I can't work them out.
You mentioned earlier about the fact that it's all intertwined. They are all effectively tripwires, really, aren't they?
Well, the automotive industry has been doing this for 50 years until recently. So they would service credit to their supply chain to be able to make brake discs to sell them. That's been going on ad infinitum. I mean, the Chinese government have been buying bonds and lending the Americans money to buy Chinese products, all the plastic toot every Christmas. They've been doing that for decades. So I don't know where circular capital is okay and where circular capital is not okay. And I'm not an economist, and I don't think even economists know that. All I do know for a fact is that once you get a layer of credit that can no longer be served, I mean, forget the American deficit for a second, running at a 6% deficit, and that's like, this is hyper problematic, but forget that for a second. I don't know at what point the layer of credit that piles in is going to create the breakage. But if you look at every single recession or every other major financial impact we've ever seen, it's all been credit based. It's all been when credit has gone wrong.
Yes.
So when debt can't be serviced, the world collapses. And obviously 2008 was a lot of consumer debt, and there was the subprimes, and there was like a conflation of stupid derivatives being created to create all these invisible financial instruments that nobody really knew who was making, and they all became AAA rated, and then Lehman's bought that and whomever bought the other. So that, I think that was fairly obvious to see now looking back through a review lens. I don't know how we apply that thinking to what's going on now with the circular and the debt. I don't know where the lines are. We needed Michael Burry, although Michael Burry thinks everything's going to crash every 10 seconds. I think Buffett was right to get out of. Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway cashed out about 12 months ago. So if you watch the smart people cashing out of their own markets,
yes,
That's the thing to go, oh, okay. They might be 12 months early, but if they're now in these huge cash positions, that's probably, if I was an investor in Publix or doing the big stuff, I mean, I'm a VC in early stage, but if I was doing that, I would go, okay, there is something happening here which is not going to end well.
Yes, that's the real worry about it, isn't it? That you know, you've got the people that are closest to it, the smartest to it, really are betting the opposite way.
Yes.
To which
well, Burry shorted. What did Burry short? He shorted Nvidia and Palantir, didn't he?
Palantir, yeah.
And obviously Palantir has just had their biggest earnings call numbers ever, and then I think stock prices shot up 20% or whatever they did. Hideous company, but obviously people don't care and they want to make lots of money. So fine, if you've got no morals or scruples, you go for it. And I think he shorted both. I think he shorted Nvidia and Palantir.
There's a lot of noise around Palantir, though, isn't there? That it is a pretty poor business. I've heard the same thing multiple times.
If you are servicing governments and being paid by governments across the world, how can you go wrong? I mean, this is the thing that bothers me the most. You get all these kind of calls against socialism. I mean, if it wasn't for government bailouts, government loans, SpaceX wouldn't exist. NASA contracts, government contracts, SpaceX wouldn't exist. And obviously, Elon will say, well, we didn't borrow this and we didn't do that. Dude, you wouldn't be here without that NASA contractor to rescue dudes from the ISS or whatever it is. Palantir the same. So it bothers me that they are. I mean, it's just a hideous company. It's just the way that it's run. Personal opinions, obviously. And Alex Karp is a Fruit Loop. I mean, he scares the living bejesus out of me. So. But that's an emotional reaction. Is it a good business? Yes. Does it make lots of money? Yes. Mainly from big government contracts.
What do you make of these leaders, the leaders which are carving this out? Because I guess the one that we had most insight on recently was with that deposition that was signed by Ilya on Sam Altman for the Elon case, where he kind of went into a tremendous amount of detail about how Sam Altman cannot be trusted.
We cross into a very difficult territory of was Henry Ford a decent human being? Probably not. Probably a bit of a Nazi. Probably a bit of a eugenics freak. Is that okay? Are you okay buying a Model T if the owner of the business is an asshole? Are you allowed to buy a Starlink or a Tesla because Elon effectively installed Donald Trump to cause all this incredible heartache for so many people? I don't know how many people have died because of the withdrawals of USAID. Maybe in the millions, who knows? But at what point is there a moral choice or a personal ethical choice around buying, using, serving a product? Does it matter that Sam Altman's not trustworthy? Does it matter? I don't know. I know that I would never buy a Tesla. I would never buy a Starlink because I don't want to invest in the economies that I think are run by arseholes. But my industry, venture capital, invests in psychopaths. It's my job to invest in young, educated, white male psychopaths. That's what I do for a living. I don't do that, but that's what I probably should do. Because they'll run through walls. They'll sell their grandmothers. They don't care. They'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. And Elon is an incredible entrepreneur. He's the entrepreneur of a generation.
I don't get the same impression, though, from Demis Hassabis.
No, he I think is a strikingly normal, decent human being.
Yes.
But who knows? Who knows what goes on behind closed doors? He might be crushing kittens. Who knows? But I think he is. I've read, watched, seen a lot and had some interactions with some DeepMind employees.
Yep.
Seems to be a thoroughly decent human being. But does that matter?
I guess when there's such a potential impact on society with the technology.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it, but to answer I think it does. It's slightly rhetorical. Does it matter that Elon is an arsehole? It's a personal judgment, right? So at what point does a personal judgment make sense, be real? And at what point does that mean that you should or shouldn't do something with their products or services? Should they be building the businesses that they're building in the ways that they're building them? And like moral tax, the tax code is the tax code. Building a business is building a business. So at what point can you have moral, ethical personal conversations. I genuinely don't know, but I really struggle with it. And I have my own personal side of the fence that I live on, which is a lot more emotional than anyone in my industry and a lot more emotional than most people in the street who wouldn't mind buying a Starlink. I don't care. I want internet in my country house, so there's no BT lines. So I'm going to buy a Starlink. But I can't have anything to do with these people.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. It's a dick thing to say, but I just can't get beyond that line.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you need people with this level of determination and ability to, sweat the small stuff, but also deal with the stress and the anxiety of getting to these frontier technologies in order to advance science and to improve climate and do these things. Yeah. But then we have this vulnerability to the impact.
Maybe
and
we know
success.
too much. Maybe the challenge we have with such a transparent world because of social media is we would never have known Henry Ford's politics back in the day. It wasn't. Maybe you did. Maybe there was that's whatever press that came out. But we're so interconnected now on a social media basis. Obviously, Elon posts his opinions 35 times a day on X. So you know what these people stand for. And all Donald Trump really has done in some ways is put what happened behind the screen in front of the screen.
Yeah.
All he's really done in some instances, I mean, there's a lot of assholery that I don't believe was going on before he went into office, but he's put a lot of the dirty deals that were going on at a country or at a corporation level. He said, you want this? You buy my, my Liberty Trump coin. You buy my meme coin, and then I'll give you permission to do whatever, or you allow me to build Gaza, or well, did you see the Jared Kushner, the hotels and the new Mediterranean front? I was like, this is so bad taste.
So bad, yeah.
I can't even cope with this.
It's horrendous, isn't it?
But maybe that was, I have no doubts that was going on behind the screens, and the dirty dealings going on in Russia, Ukraine. Obviously, the Americans now want an election in Ukraine. Of course, they want to put in their show pony who will trade with Putin, who will allow the annexation of the east coast of Ukraine. So I don't know. There's an argument that says you've got to just invest or deal or work with people that can build these incredible things. And whatever their politics, humanity is, get over yourself. I can't live like that.
No, I do agree with you, actually. It's an interesting point that you raised, which is that for all of his faults and all of his issues, he's definitely provided a different level of transparency to the type of the inner workings of government. You just never see that from it's a politician's answer.
But everybody knew that government was run by corporations. You know this. You know that they're puppets. You know they're puppets to lobbyists. You know that the corporate agenda. I mean, that's where the three meal food plan came from. That's where the milk industry, the sugar industry, we know all these stories, but it was like we could just put our fingers in our ears and go, la, 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 everything's fine. Please just do nice things. Oh, they're shit. We'll get the other lot in. We become so tribal, don't we? We've only got two parties. I mean, now in the UK, we don't. We've got probably four, but we're now so tribal. In the States, it's like, I'm a red, I'm a blue, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. It's like, you lot fight. If we can allow you lot to just fight tribally over there, us corporate lot, we're just going to get on with our dirty backroom dealings. And you're right, Trump has just thrown that into the front and go, look, this is what happens, guys and girls. Yep. I'm not going to drain the swamp. I am going to be the swamp.
Yeah, I'm not going to show you it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide it from you.
And I'm not sure that was a conscious choice. I don't think he thinks like in 4D chess like other people do. I think it's bullshit. I think he's into transactions. But
I agree with that. I think that he has a very simplistic kind of approach. When you see his approach to everything, it's just literally. I mean, it is his book, which is just
Well, he didn't write the book.
State the aim.
The deal. He didn't write that.
But state the aim. State your aim super high and find somewhere in the middle. And the consequences of getting to that result are not important to me. Which is
he's a mob
absolutely.
He's a mob boss.
Not right.
He's created mob tactics, and he's put mob tactics into the White House, which is embarrassing.
What do you think he's done well?
Beyond the transparency piece, I think there are some things. I think they all tie back to the transparency piece. He's now put the real inner workings into the public domain. Is that good or bad? I think it's probably long-term or medium to long-term good, as in, okay, we're going to tolerate this or are we not, because we get the governments that we deserve. And I bet there are some other dealings which may look dirty from the outside, but actually there's a rooting in them which is much more reason, like dealing with Saudi Arabia or Russia or these authoritarian regimes. But because it's been so transactional, I think we have to speak to the Russians, we have to speak to the Chinese, we have to speak to the Saudis. We have to live in the same world. So you can't just put up sanctions and you can't just like load up with tariffs and go up yours. There has to be trade. I mean, it's not working well at the moment.
I think to take one step back, it looks like we are not hiding behind the message that Russia is all evil or China is all evil, as we were.
Yeah.
And that's part of that transparency bit. He's basically gone, well, he's a fucking idiot. He goes, China, Xi's an idiot for this, but he's good for this. And he's like kind of almost like, so you've gone beyond that veil, like you say,
I think so, but do we need enemies? I mean,
no, we don't.
But we do. I mean, I think we're still operating like we do. I mean, it's a very male attitude, it's a very masculine attitude. Like, I don't like you. I'm going to invade your country. I'm going to shoot you in the face because I don't like this, or you're brown, or I don't like your politics. So there's still this machismic aspect to it. I think we just need more women in power. If we just had more women with more money and more women in power, it would balance the books a little bit, I think.
You are passionate about this, aren't you?
I am. I think it's the only thing that's going to make the world a better place. Yeah.
So interesting. It's good. I was thinking about, we sat on a call and you started talking about your work in kind of promoting and helping to develop and nurture female leaders in tech.
Yeah.
And I kind of said I don't do much in that way. And I'm not a fan of the kind of DEI stuff.
Yeah, and the affirmative. I'm with you on that.
And I thought about what you were saying. I thought actually you're doing exactly the right thing, which is that DEI actually is resolved by working really hard to find the best candidate. And if you for any role, and if you do that, quite often you will get a very diverse outcome.
Yeah. And
so that's, for me, is a process. And so trying to bias that in some way, in any way, other than finding the best person for it. But you're doing something very different, which is that you're actually saying that you're helping encourage more people into to ensure they're in the pot.
Yes, get more women investing, get more women starting up, get more women in venture. Yeah. It's not going to be a panacea. It's a very blunt instrument way of thinking about it, but just get more women in the network, and then the rest will resolve itself. Yes. And it's still a meritocracy. This isn't charity. This isn't because they need a leg up. It's just we all need heroes, right? We all need to see that we can do this role. We all need the network and the functional way that business is done to allow anybody to be able to do anything. And there are still some challenges around that. And it's still very much governed by middle-aged white men. Not that middle-aged white men are doing a bad job at that. They're doing a bad job at a lot of things. But we just need to get more women in the network, because it will just create natural weights and balances. We just won't get some of the behaviors. We'll build different kinds of businesses. We'll invest in slightly different ways. Well, but it's blanket, because the men and women, fine, but there's actually masculine and feminine. It's not about having boobs or having a penis. It's just like, we're all slightly feminine. We're all slightly masculine. Everyone is, just because I'm a man doesn't make me all masculine. I've got very feminine traits. So I don't really think about men and women. I think about masculine and feminine. Right. But as a blunt instrument, just get more women into the pot, and that will balance the books in many, many ways.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think we all have a responsibility, don't we, to actually just make sure that everyone believes they can achieve their goals. Yeah. That's it. Like that there is no constraint. There is there's nothing in the way of any of you. And it's very easy for people which get to their goals to say, but there is nothing in the way. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is bias in history, and there's loads of other stuff and
there's so much pattern matching, especially in my industry, so much pattern matching that goes on. And sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes the pattern is the right thing. But we need to just be conscious. We need to just make conscious decisions to make sure. There's just different kinds of... Women tend to build businesses in different ways. They have a different kind of tenacity to men. It doesn't manifest in the same way. Yep. Just got to be conscious of it. That's all. And I think we just need more other in the network, and then other decisions will be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Ensuring people have got kind of clarity and purpose and goals and just belief. That's the biggest thing that I think you can give anyone is belief. giving them belief that they can go and do the things that they want to do.
I've got to be on a call.
Yeah, no,
I'm so sorry.
No, that's right. We'll just say he's gone.
I'll tell you what. Let me.
Thank you. Go for it, Dan.
Should I take this call and come back?
Yeah. Help me understand, one thing. What do you think? Societal impact, the things that you've mentioned, 1, 3, 5 years.
1, 3, 5 years. So I think that what are we going to look at that's going to be different in, let's go the longest, let's go the 5-year horizon. How we manage our health is going to be one of the things that is going to be shifted, especially by AI. Most people, or many people, have Fitbits, Ouras, Apple Watches, what have you. Many people, even though it's in the realms of people with disposable income, many people are getting Nico health scans, getting blood tests, getting urine scans, getting whatever, skin scans. We're getting more comfortable as a nation or as a wider community of getting preventative healthcare into our vernacular, into our mindset. We've only just begun. It's very, very early days. And I know Peter Attia is now persona non grata. He's probably pretty much been cancelled. But if you look at the Peter Attias, I know David Sinclair's been cancelled as well, hasn't he? He was a big longevity. There are others. I can't think of any of that haven't been cancelled. Bugger. Who's the guy that was nearly cancelled for being really inappropriate? Andrew Huberman. He was like an arsehole to women, wasn't he?
Yes, he's still
allegedly. Shall I just put the allegedly?
Yeah, allegedly, definitely.
Allegedly an unpleasant human being. I don't think he's been cancelled yet. But there are these kinds. And who's the crazy guy? Who's the crazy longevity guy?
The biohacking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep
Blueprint.
I never remember his name.
Right, thank you, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson. I think they are bringing this health conversation to the public fore. And that's really interesting because AI can absolutely help us with our health. I uploaded all of my Apple Health data of 5 years to Claude and interrogate that. And it told me stuff that I really didn't know. For example, my VO2 max has gone down just marginally over the last 2 years. So I've got to stop doing resistance and I've got to do much more cardio. But I would never have seen that over this kind of very short time span. When you see a month's worth of data or a week's worth of data. This looked at 5 years and went, Dan, you've got to pay more attention to cardio over resistance. And I went, that's really interesting. And so many other things about. And the more you load into it, whether it's bloods or fecal matter or urine or saliva or whatever it might be, we are really going to get a proper ability to interrogate what goes on with our bodies. And I think that's going to be a massive game changer. Apple and Siri, I am an audience of one for that. I am in my community, everyone thinks I'm an idiot, but I think Apple are going to own that personal agent AI. Look at OpenClaw and look at what that does as a function. I think Siri, I'm confident that Siri will become that. Even if Apple need to use Google's platform to do it, I think they'll do it anyway.
And that's, are we talking 2026 here?
Yeah, I do. I think
this year.
The uptick in, I think we'll see a sizable uptick in personal scans and personal health. And I think we'll see in 26, I know we're looking at the 5 years, but I think even in 26, we'll see Siri become useful this year. I did say this last year, but I think we'll see Siri become useful this year, primarily because of Google's Gemini on-device toolkit, which is now their SLM, which is really impressive. What else do I think is going to happen short term, or even in a 5-year horizon? We are going to see how agents, and I think this might be your happy space, how agents are going to affect business. So we're already seeing agents as booking holidays or dealing with customer service requests. So this kind of slightly light touch. We've seen OpenClaw take a debit or a credit card or a whatever financial tool and go and buy things for you. And so the ability to manage our, not just from the personal side, but in the commercial side, be able to manage function between businesses, I think is going to be pretty, and that might happen this year, actually. That might not be a 3 to 5 year, that might be a 1 to 2 year horizon. I think we're going to have a crash in the next couple of years. I think we are going to see the credit line into, I don't think 26, but I think 27, 28. I would say end of this year, early next year, if I was to put a a specific timeline on it. I think we're going to see all of this kind of the Mag 7, even though everything's taken a shit recently, this kind of booming AI circular IPO, happy into M&A, but that's going to have a rude awakening. I'm not sure how much that is going to affect the real world, how much markets are going to affect the real world. Hopefully not too much. It's not going to be the GFC, it's not going to be the .com, but there is going to be a serious connection at the top of the tree. Maybe if there's too much debt interwound, we will see more systemic challenges with that, but to be seen. What else excites me? I think just to talk my own book for a bit, I think I invest in manufacturing, energy, construction, supply chain. I invest in all the back office B2B stuff. This world, mainly driven by NATO spend, mainly driven by European defense and resilience spend, is going to be a really interesting space. So we're going to see a lot more friendshoring, nearshoring, onshoring of manufacturing, food, energy. That's going to be really interesting. And how we, on your energy point from before, it's only like 24, 25, we saw energy providers, the generators, providing more energy than the grid needed for the first time ever. So how we load balance that. So how you saw, did you see the BYD Octopus deal?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I thought it was quite cute. It wasn't a big news article. I thought it should have been bigger, but you've got your car serving as a battery to serve your house, your heat pump, and manage and then sell energy back to the grid when it's not required, when you're not using. I thought that load balancing, that I think we're going to see more of, which is really interesting. So I think there are going to be some interesting things in food, energy.
Talk to me about this onshoring bit. So what's your vision there?
I just think that Trump has given the world permission to go solo. So what that means is that, Macron and France have always been big isolationists. They've always been France first, and Macron has always been that guy. And fair. There is going to be a real push from the Illuminati that goes on, the powers that be that go on behind the scenes to make sure that we are not exposed to global supply chains, that we are not exposed to the mess that Trump is creating in this volatile world. So you got Gaza, Israel, Russia, Ukraine, the China, Taiwan, American, and did you see that BRICS? Did you see that Brazil and China are now doing deals in renminbi?
No, I didn't see that.
So we're now starting to see the decoupling of the dollar as part of the global trade system.
I did say. Yeah.
That is very quietly behind the scenes. People are starting to. You saw the India, so the India EU trade deal, the BRICS India. I know the Americans have then jumped on the bandwagon. Obviously, Starmer going off to China and getting nothing, apart from he got like 2 million. It was almost embarrassing what he.
Yeah, like 2 million quid's worth of figs.
Yeah, it was something like, oh great, well done. Reminded me of when who was our useless prime minister, the lettuce? What was her name?
Truss.
Liz Truss. When she gloriously announced her trade deal for pork bellies or whatever it was. It reminded me of that. Like, yeah, we got 2 million quid's worth of figs. Well done, Starmer. But that's now opening. So all of these other trading alliances, obviously Mark Carney in Canada's big on, I loved his EV deal, basically telling Detroit to go and do one.
Unbelievable.
Detroit's there, right? Detroit is more in Canada than much of Canada is in Canada. If you look at the map.
Yep.
But I thought him doing trade deals with China, I know that it was limited, but this global decoupling is going to create much more resilient onshoring supply within our network. I think we will get back into the EU. The UK will get back into the EU somehow. There will be some kind of trade, customs, something. I think there are some sensible conversations. We will see the 28th regime. So we will see one corporate entity, one startup entity, one investable entity across Europe, which hopefully the UK can be in. I think that'll be really smart and sensible.
Cool, yeah.
So I think these are the kinds of things that it's going to be a bit like disasters or 1,000 cuts. We were talking about plane crashes being 1,000 cuts. Maybe that was off camera. Yeah. I think we are going to see 1,000 implementations, increases, upticks of people and products and services, cross-border, onshoring, friendshoring, reshoring, just thinking about, okay, we're not going to be so reliant on China for rare earths. We're not going to export our dirty manufacturing to China. We're going to do a little bit of that here, a little bit of that here. In France. Germany's going to be in charge of that.
And it's accelerated, by Trump in many respects, but it's inevitable anyway with the rise of humanoids and robotics and Industry 3.0, or 4.0, whatever we're on now.
5.0, whatever.
Wherever we are, right? And so I think that nearshoring piece is inevitable, right? The fact that the cost of manufacturing was it was offshored for the cost of labour. Labour is being eliminated in the manufacturing process. So at some point, the major cost is either going to be the materials or the supply chain.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of when 3D printing was a big hype about 10 years ago. Maybe sooner than that. I can't remember. But it was, everyone's going to make their own iPhone cases. And it's like, no, they're not. They have to download the bloody thing. They have to go and buy the plastic pellets. No one's going to do this shit. And it was like a big hype, especially in my industry. But it reminds me of that. But there's a reality around this where you can have a factory that makes low volume things that do a thing. You can have we get pitched a lot, sea containers that have dark factories, dark manufacturing, dark kitchens inside. So it's a self-contained unit that does a thing that bolts onto a waste plant or bolts onto a manufacturing plant. We're going to see a lot more fluidity in how things are made, how things are distributed, where things are mined. So we're going to see a lot more of that start to just make inroads into how we buy, how we manufacture, how we move. That kind of stuff is going to be accelerated. Absolutely.
Oddly, I think we're going to have a lot to thank for Trump, which is going to be.
I think you're right.
Which is that I think that he's accelerated the strengthening of these international relationships.
Up Europe. He is absolutely. And people forget the emotional side of this. We can all see the financial, practical, tangible. But people forget the emotional side of this, which is people are pissed off. It's like, okay, you were the world police. We trusted you as the world police, but we also traded in your currency. We also bought all your stuff. We also enabled you to trade globally and just created these fluid pathways. We weren't asking you to do this for free. Just because we weren't pulling our weight with NATO doesn't mean that you weren't being benefited in a multitude of other ways. Yep. And it was a very delicate balance of power and trade. And what Trump has done is destroyed that overnight. And he's energized the European leaders to go, okay, all right, you've given us almost a war spirit, a war footing to get our act together. And we're going to use defense, dual use, resilience as part of that story.
I don't even think it's just Europe, is it? I mean, I've seen African leaders come out and say, what, do you expect other people to pay our bills for the rest of our lives? We need to get off our arse and start making ourselves independent. If you look at Carney, his speech at Davos.
I loved his speech at Davos.
Whoa, I think that'll go down as one of the greatest, won't it?
I think so. How to be a true statesperson. Did you see Pedro Sanchez and what he was talking about keeping tech CEOs to account for disinformation, misinformation, hate speech?
I didn't see it, no.
Yeah, it's almost like Trump being a human, like or loathe, personally the latter, has given other world leaders the opportunity to be real and go, okay, all right, we're going to say the truth and we're going to be a bit more honest about what's going on. Yeah. And Carney was great because he didn't blame Trump. He wasn't bad-mouthing like Besant and Lutnick were going, you're all shit, and J.D. Vance going, I mean, that's just really...
It's other countries' complacency.
It's just deeply unpleasant ways of operating. But Carney was just a true state. It made me almost proud to be Canadian. I'm not Canadian. But I was like, good. Without being rude or obnoxious, he's saying, okay, the world order has changed. No point in crying over spilt milk. We now need to get on with the new way of doing
and doesn't
things.
It make sense for everyone to have these robust relationships which are equitable in all directions, as opposed to us
rather than being bullied,
live off of or
marginalised.
And I think you can say bullied, right? And it's ended up in bullying. You could say that
maybe it always was, though. Going back to our previous point, I think there was a lot of bullying. I mean, the Americans have done some pretty hideous things.
Fucking right, yeah.
And the Brits have done hideous things.
But they've been complicit. That's my point. The complacency of these other nations has been the fact that they've been complicit in things. That's the issue.
That was one of Carney's point, wasn't it? He was saying, look, we've kind of been part of this because there was a tacit agreement just to turn a blind eye, get on, world police, trading, reserve currency, trading, whatever, will just kind of like, and no more. He's going, okay, the line has been drawn. I think it's great.
Yeah. And I don't think, obviously, this isn't a political conversation we're having, really. This is just really about actually the fact that the landscape, the tech landscape, the consumer landscape.
Everything's politics, isn't
infrastructure, yes.
Everything. You can't, I mean, it reminds me of Ricky Gervais. I think one of his shows was called Politics.
Brilliant.
Years ago. And it reminds me, I think his opening line was, everything is politics. And he's just so right. You can't talk about money or family or the economy or love. You can't do any of this stuff without actually at some point coming down to politics.
Coming down to, where the key drivers are.
Yeah.
Just coming back to trying to understand the way the world is going. I often kind of think about this curious podcast I do as to wondering which science fiction movie we're moving into.
Don't watch iRobot. Whatever you do, don't watch iRobot.
It's not a good look. Dear me. So, no, good. Well, look, Dan, thank you for taking the time.
Pleasure.
Lovely.
Lovely to hang out.
Yes, I'm looking forward to doing this again at some point.
It'd be great.
And obviously, your podcast, you've been doing it for a bit longer. Is it a podcast or is it more of a news?
It's a news review. So it's called Upside. It's a weekly review of everything that will affect European venture.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that I can see in the market that kind of distills what's going on and goes, hang on a minute, how is that going to affect European venture, startups, investing? Because people don't know that we have more money here than in the States. We've got more talent here than in the States. We've got more R&D here than in the States. We just don't connect the dots. So we've got sizable amounts more capital. It's just not being put into risky venture, startup, innovation. All of the R&D, got 50% more R&D and scientists here. I'm here in Europe. I'm in my head, the UK is still part of Europe. We have all of the skills, all of the talent, all of the capital. We just don't connect the dots. And so what I'm trying to do is encourage the conversation around connecting the dots.
And it needs to happen. You're absolutely right.
It is happening.
My biggest fear, right, is that as we go through this transformational shift that we're on, for all the things you've just mentioned that are going to happen, I mean, you listen to all the things that you think might happen over the next year or two. It's incredible. And we have the opportunity to capture the value of that. And try and get ahead of it and leverage it and encourage it
American
in all
pensioners.
absolutely, and push it into the right direction.
Let's stop that. All we're doing at the moment is feeding the beast.
Yes.
Let's feed us. Let's support our pensioners. Let's feed our markets. Let's recycle here. Many people don't understand the notion of recycling capital. All we're doing is siphoning our capital effectively, people capital, product capital, service capital, and pumping it into the States to go and list and sell and buy and do. Fine, I get it. You kind of got to play a bit of the arbitrage game, but let's start feeding our own backyard, looking after our own talent, investing in our own people, products and services. And that is happening. I mean, people don't know that European venture is growing 4 times faster than the States. So if you look at all of the charts, 2015, we were like minuscule minnows. We are now, there's 25 unicorns, I think, in January in Europe alone. We're about a quarter of all Europeans globally, 20%, 25% of all unicorns globally. That's up from nothing. So we've got a lot to be extremely positive and thankful for, and there's a long way to go. But we are growing at a rate of knots, and we're catching up to the States at a rate of knots within venture startups, investing innovation. That my world.
My concern is that we're just too slow, and I think it's almost like waiting for an event to happen.
We need pension capital.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. The only unlock is about 8% of US pension capital endowments goes into venture and startups and the super risky innovation side. And it's in the UK, it's about, and across Europe, it's 0.03%, something like that. And everyone says to me, well, I don't want my safe, secure grandpa pension being invested in your risky shit. Don't you dare do that. It's like, you are missing the point. It's an extremely lucrative asset class. It's where the risk-adjusted returns live. It doesn't exist in the bond market. If you're just going to go and buy bonds, you'll create value destruction. There are some pension firms that are posting returns at 1.52%. And inflation is what? 3.5%. That is value destruction. You are quite literally destroying value in your pension funds. The only way to do that, you have to be smart, you have to have a portfolio approach, is do some of the riskier assets. I'm not asking to do much, maybe 2, 3%, 5%, whatever. It's not 0.03%. and do it here. Do it in your backyard. We've got loads of smart people doing clever stuff with extremely successful funds and firms. Go and do it. Yeah. The fee structure needs to be resolved, but it's resolvable. They can't invest in a 2 and 20 model, but that's easily resolvable. And so we need somebody to pick up the mantle and do
I was sat down with Tom Gorachowski, who is a scientist. He's an engineering biologist.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the fact that he just sees this massive gulf between the science community, the kind of commercial business industry, and then funding.
Yeah.
And he thinks there's just a massive opportunity to align those things
Europeans
more and more.
Europeans save. Europeans invest in art, invest in property, don't forget, my industry is called alternative assets. Private equity, venture capital, I think maybe even property is called alternatives. I think there's a weird one that's bucketed in there, but we have a branding problem.
Yep.
We're called alternatives. You invest in the good stuff, in the public markets and the proper things that you should invest in. And then you do the alternative things like, nah, this is just nuts. The whole branding issue around.
It's this way the system's designed, mate.
I get it. I mean, what I do is incredibly risky. I'm a gambler. I'm one up from betting on the nags and the horses. I get that is. But I also have a portfolio of across the 2 funds, 55, and the third will be another 30 businesses. You do it as a portfolio. You expect 50, 60, 70, 80% to fail or return a bit or something, but you also expect 1 or 2 to go gangbusters. That's what the power law venture capital model is. So you do it in a smart way. You don't just invest in 3 startups and lose your money and go, shit, I'm never doing that again. That's just not how you do it. You do it as a portfolio and you do it in a measured and smart thematic way. And hopefully you'll catch a power law return. That's the point. But it's just not what we do. It's not what Europe does. It's changing.
They're changing. The big thing which I struggle with is that we don't back the things that we are winning in. So yes. Particularly in science. I mean, around the biology piece, I can't remember which area of biology it was to do with material and chemical science, and we were world leading in this re-engineering of chemicals. I think it was, and we invested, I think 3 years ago, the government committed 10 million to it.
Yeah.
Right? And within a 3-year period, South Korea, the US, everyone accelerates straight past just because they back. And to think that you're leading in like chemical and material science, which is
we're really good at that.
The technology that underpins, the next evolution of industries. And we don't commit to it. So yeah, there is a branding and a commitment issue to all of this.
The last 3 quantum businesses, the last 3 IPOs in the States, 2 were founded by Brits. And we were looking at the valuation differences along the way, and it was roughly a 10x valuation difference. So European quantum businesses were roughly valued 10 times lower than US quantum businesses. And the top 3 went on to IPO and 2 were run by Brits. So I think we're doing something very wrong, but there is a lot of positive noise, a lot of positive action going on, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Dan, thanks for coming along. Great to spend some time with you.
Dude, what a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if anyone wants to get hold of you, it's the Upside Podcast.
Upside Podcast, Dan at supersede.com. Supersede is the venture capital firm. Upside is the podcast. You can find me all over the social web. I'm a noisy bugger.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Nice to see you. Cheers.